Yeah, welcome to ComeonyespursTV, where we talk about everything Tottenham. I got with me Chuma, as always, where we started talking about Enic Out, Ange Out, and all that. So I think the first part was we spoke about Ange Out. This time around, we want to focus on the Enic side of things, and I know that they're almost like inseparable when it comes to way fans and media kind of look at the team and how the rest of the public uh, look at how the team is set up. Hey, welcome aboard. Here for the first time. Chuma is my acolyte.
We're fellow acolytes.
Acolytes. I think for those who are in the Nigerian sports group, they know what I'm talking about. But hey,
Exactly. That word popped up just before Christmas as ardent establishment yes men,
yeah,
more or
that's
less.
that's for
And
those who follow the gospel according to Saint Levi.
exactly, this is a term that has been dropped from all the way from Mount Olympus down to us mere
Acolytes.
mortals. So,
Right.
huge shout out to Zeus. Uh, yes, welcome to Common News Spurs TV. As you can see on the screen just below, you're seeing subscribe, like. If you're watching this, we know you rock with us. We know you listen to us. We know you commented in the past. Or if this is your first time watching, welcome. Thank you for coming. In all things, you may like certain things in life. You may like jollof rice or you may not like jollof rice. But like all things in life, you have to pick a side. You've picked Spurs. Spurs has picked you. So welcome to the Afrobeat section of Spurs. Please subscribe if you haven't. Comment, like the video for the algorithm, and yeah, get in touch with us. Let us know what you think about Spurs, what you think about what's going on. Are you Enic in? Are you Enic out? At the end of this video, you have to make a choice. You have to make a stand, or join me and sit on the fence because I am Enic out, not Enic out.
You said something about jollof rice earlier on. Let's just for a fact. Let's just put it out there right now, right? There's only one jollof rice, okay? Every other one is a counterfeit. That's Nigerian jollof rice and the others, okay?
I don't know that in that argument about jollof rice. I think um, I have friends from other parts of West Africa, and I've tried. I'll be very honest. I'll be brutally honest. Ghanaian jollof rice, I'm not a fan of for reasons that my Ghanaian friends, family, I love you guys. God bless you guys, but I'm not a huge fan of yours. Nigerian jollof rice, I don't know what Nigerian jollof rice is because are we talking party jollof? Now, if party jollof
Oh my god. Oh
is,
my
is the same
god.
thing for everybody else, but I would like to give a shout out to Malian jollof, which I've tried, and Sierra
Okay.
Leonean jollof. I've tried Sierra Leonean jollof as well, and it was really good. So the Nigerian Ghana argument, I think, is a case of numbers. I think is a Man City Liverpool kind of situation where they have the most wins, so they make the most noise.
Listen, whether you like it or not, Nigerian jollof rice is number one. Moving on very quickly. That's it. Right. In it out. Now, so the argument is framed in a number of ways, right? And I think we're going to try and go. What I want us to do, hopefully, is to try to get a bit of a balance, if you like, if I want a better expression. And the balance is between the facts and the views, right? The facts are when Enic took over Tottenham, right? I don't know the last time we won before then, right? That's the first point. Second point is that at what position were Spurs in the league at that time, right? And then again, what was our annual revenue in terms of money coming in? And then compare all of that to where we are today, right? Did we? Sorry, let me go back to say, were we ever competing in Champions League? Did we ever feature in Champions League before they came in and all that thing, right? Today, where it's now like expected for us to feature in the top four, almost like yeah, it's a given, to the point whereby we can now attract a lot of good players. Okay, maybe not necessarily the creme de la creme, but we're not that far off when it comes to, and then of course, that has built up expectation to a point whereby expected to be there or thereabouts. I mean, before Enic came in, there was only top four, and that top four was made up of with the guys up the road, made up of Man United, right? I think Chelsea was the fourth team at that time, right? And Chelsea only came in about because of Mr. Abramovich, right? By the time Man City came in with the Arab money, they became the fifth wheel in the clock, so it became top five, right? And then we kind of bundled our way through, and then suddenly everyone started saying, "Oh, it's top six." So today there's the top six because of Tottenham, right? How? Enic. How? Daniel Levy. So for me, I think he deserves the kudos that he should be getting for getting us into that position. Now, from the business perspective, right? They will say he's done very well, but he hasn't done so well when it comes to the football side of things, right? For me, I'm not sure that that is the right way to frame the argument, because you wouldn't have you need the resources to be able to provide the tools that you need in order to get to next points in your growth or transition, right? Now they got us to the point whereby we now have the framework, the base and stability to be able to say, fine, we have the resources now available, or we are in a better position to now attract resources, not just on a one-off basis from one Arab sheikh or one big multi-billionaire American or someone who has plenty of money in their pocket. We don't have to rely on all of that. We can rely solely on the revenue sources that we have available to us, and we diversify those revenue base to ensure that we have a sustainable framework that ensures that we can consistently compete at the very highest level. And competing at the very highest level requires a model which is almost been perfected, if you want to call it that has kept us in that top tier, right? Now that top tier also comes with the element of sacrifice. What's the next step to win trophies, right? To win trophies is what? If you want an FA Cup, some people say that it's all ego driven, if you like. But from a sustainability perspective, from a football fan, what the matter is that from a football club rather, you need to be there or thereabouts, right? And you mentioned something earlier on, right? If you go for only trophies, why are Scunthorpe still in business? Why are Yeovil still play football if they never won anything? Why is Sheffield Wednesday or Sheffield United? This is not a disrespect to any other club. It's just to say that the reality of the matter is that the number of clubs who actually win, it's very, very limited, right? If it was only about winning all the time, the truth of the matter is that no clubs will exist, because you don't stand a chance when it comes to the grand scheme of things, What do you think? So I've made the
so the greatest thing in life is kind of like I can't remember what I was watching the other day where the guy said, I mean his son asked him a question about it's this shows my age. So there's a rapper called Mace. For those people who are out there, Mase, Mace. Mace was part of Bad Boy Records and all that stuff. So Mace knew Biggie, Notorious B.I.G. the rapper. Now Mace is a grown man. Mace is in his 40s. Mace has children, and his son said to Mace, "Man, Dad, there's this rapper, man. Like back in the day, the guy was so good that he's someone that I've never heard you talk about." And he says, "So who?" He says, "Oh, Notorious B.I.G." And Mace was laughing because, you see, his son and other people only know Mace has a successful podcast now, a sports podcast. So he only sees his father as this podcast guy that used to rap, but he didn't know how big his father was as a rapper, right? So what I'm trying to say is this. There are some people now who are Spurs fans that don't remember what the climate was like pre-Daniel Levy and Enic. They don't know. The ones who were there are the ones who are always expressing caution. They're the ones who have lived through Irving Scholar, and all these other previous owners that literally did damage to Tottenham as a club and as a brand. As far back as the 80s when Spurs were winning under Keith Birkinshaw, Keith Birkinshaw was not happy as a manager because the club was being mismanaged. And he had this famous quote, there used to be a club here. There used to be a club in this Tottenham. It's not here. And this man said this in the 80s when Spurs were quote unquote winning. The same thing also applies to Spurs winning. Let's break down Spurs winning. I became a fan in 1986. I know I look like I'm 12, but I'm way older than 12. but Spurs, as of 1986, when I fully was conscious about football, tactics, and players, 86 World Cup was my first real World Cup watching and enjoying. So Spurs, as of that season, didn't win anything in 86. They didn't win anything I think they won the UEFA Cup in 84, if I'm not mistaken. And that was Spurs' last trophy. But Spurs made the semi-finals of the League Cup, I think, in 2 straight years. Spurs challenged for the title in 85, 86, I think, and ended up coming second or third. The same thing happened in 86, 87 when I started supporting Glenn Hoddle. That was Glenn Hoddle's last season, and he left to Monaco. Spurs came third. Spurs made the FA Cup final, which was going to be seen as Glenn Hoddle's huge send-off, and Spurs ended up being Spursy and lost to Coventry. After that, there was a drought until 1991 when Spurs won the FA Cup under Terry Venables, with Gaza taking us to the final but getting injured, and potentially that was the fall of Gaza as we knew him. But up until that point, I think Spurs came third in the 89-90. This is me as stats guy. Spurs came third in the 89-90 season leading up to the 1990 World Cup. And that was Spurs' highest placing under Terry Venables ever. Venables ended up going into partnership with Alan Sugar to buy the club. Peter Shreves took over, and Spurs, league position-wise, were never great. Again, we never cracked the top 3. Alan Sugar took over, and Alan Sugar ran it like a business. But it was a business that was losing him money, and he ended up selling to Enic. In the course of this, Spurs didn't win anything after 1991 until the end of the 90s when George Graham took over. George Graham, he of Arsenal legend status, took over Spurs, much to the anger of quite a few Spurs fans, or majority of Spurs fans, but he still led us to a quote-unquote promised land of a League Cup title in the late 90s. Spurs then sold to Enic. Enic took over, but this is it. Spurs never had great positions. So when people talk about these great Spurs, like I said, from 86 down, I have seen FA Cup final 87. I have seen FA Cup final 91. I have seen League Cup final, is it 97, 99? That's it. Three from 1986 up until 2008 under Enic when Juan de Ramos won the League Cup again. So this is me from 1986. In the next year, we'll make it 40 years. I have seen four major things, or 4 major trophies, or whatever. Okay, and then you can put in 2 finals, under Pochettino. So this thing that they're talking about, I don't quite understand. But the thing is, like I said with Mace's son. Mace's son said, I have no idea about the history. A lot of people don't know about the history, or they've forgotten, or they can't remember. It's the same thing with Man City. During this Man City drought, where Man City were losing recently, you saw the new fans and you saw the old fans. The old fans weren't saying anything. Because these guys have gone down to League 2. They've gone down to League 1, sorry. So they've seen a lot. Those guys are the guys that never won any league titles. They knew. They've been to the depths. They've been to Mansfield and all these places. And so but the younger fans are like, what's going on? This is a crisis. Pep Guardiola, we thought you were... I'm like, this guy has given you 4 straight titles. And they started questioning Pep Guardiola. They questioned the ownership. I'm like, but that's the new fan. Now, with Enic, we've had 20-something years of Enic now. Almost 24, 25 years of Enic, right? And the thing was, before Enic took over, there was a gentleman who I think had worked with Enic before. He owned a club, and he said these guys have a model, and these guys are about sustainability. They're not about winning anything for your club through spending their money, but they'll do good for you. But be very careful, be very wary of them. Spurs fans didn't really think that was a thing. And they've had their model, but within their model, they've done things. Nobody remembers that they splashed out £8.5 million for Sergei Rebrov. We were here for Rebrov. You know, those of us who are here. Rebrov and Shevchenko were the hit in things in Europe playing for Dynamo Kiev. And in fact, we were supposed to have gotten a better player in getting Sergei Rebrov while Milan got Shevchenko. Shevchenko went on to be legendary. Rebrov came to England, and that was it for him. He wasn't a striker. We just didn't know how to play him, and he was dubbed. Same thing happened with Roberto Soldado years later. They've bought players. We spent money in the transfer window. But like I told you before off air, this league is a wage league. It is wages. It is not transfer fees. It is wages. The team that pays the best wages, the biggest wages, or has a huge, biggest wage bill, inevitably challenges for the title. And when you see that not happening, like I said, there's always an anomaly. We spoke about that before, and that was Leicester. But if you look at it, you can back it up. Go and look at the wage bill of the team that wins is in top 3 in wages every season in the Premier League. We had Blackburn, we've had Manchester United, we've had Chelsea, we've had City. Even Arsenal. Arsenal were at least top 3 or top 4 in terms of wages above Spurs. Spurs' league position actually correlates to what Spurs spend or Enic spend in wages. Daniel Levy, like I said, I'm an Enic doubter because I said, yes, everything you said was right. They have a sustainable model. They've taken us to a place. We came out of the doldrums financially. They brought us to this place, and their model is wonderful. However, there's one thing getting us to one place. There is another thing elevating us to another place. And that, I think, is where I am an Enic doubter. They cannot elevate Spurs because Daniel Levy will not spend on wages. Everyone goes on his model. His model necessarily is buying emerging talent that he can pay less wages for, hopefully bargain for more wages to keep them while their value rises, and hopefully we win something or we challenge for something, and then he can sell them for a huge profit. And that is great business. But as a football fan that is interested in your team...
Stop you there.
Go ahead.
Now, you see, again, this is, for me, people subscribing to that narrative of Levi buy cheap, sell for more down the line. But if you look at the history, right, it doesn't actually back it up, because Levi has changed Tottenham from a selling club to one that actually keeps its star players. If you think about it, right, post bail, right, what have we sold that we've made money from in terms of actual sell them and sell them on for a profit, if you like, for all of the expression. When you want to talk about major stars, Harry Kane. Okay, we sold him for a profit in the end. However, it took a lot of, fights, if you like, before we actually allowed him to leave, for all of a better expression, right? Now, if we were a selling club or the so-called, Levi wants to extract as much as possible from making profit for all the younger players or whatever you want to call it, right? Then he would have sold him like ages ago to make the money.
No, I didn't. So I didn't say he was selling. I said he bought so he wouldn't spend wages. So, like I said, my context is wages. Yeah? How much wages was Harry Kane on when he left Spurs?
Probably about 200 or something, 250 something. Yeah.
For a man of his talent in any other club, Marcus Rashford is making £350,000. What are Marcus Rashford's stats compared to Kane's? What are Marcus Rashford's stats compared to Heung-min Son? Heung-min Son on 190, 200 at best. That's what I'm trying to say. He's found a way to not pay. No, well, in football terms, it's insulting. Yes, yeah. You're looking at players. You look at, okay, you want to get Szoboszlai. You're looking at 120 grand a week. You want to get Salah. You're looking at, that's what's going on now. And what you're paying for is not just you're paying for the expertise and skill of these guys. And that's not to say that his model isn't good. His model is great because, look, we were all comparing ourselves to Brighton a couple of seasons. Look at how Brighton are picking. And now, literally, Johan Lange and the rest are doing the same. And Spurs fans are complaining. But the same Spurs fans were like, why couldn't we find a Mitoma? Why couldn't we find a Enciso? You know? But now we found the Encisos and all in Bergvall. And it's, you know, but like I said, the problem with Enic is, for me, is they've done really well. They've moved Spurs upwards financially. But they've gotten to a point where I think personally, I think there's this point where you know how the saying goes that a leader has to know when to step down. I think it's gotten to that point where Daniel Levy has gotten to that. I actually thought that it would make sense, even if Enic wanted to stay, to change leadership, to get somebody else as chief exec, still under Enic, and let's see what happens next. That maybe it's just a case of changing the figurehead. However, the model, like I said, the model is great, it's sustainable, but it will always keep us. That's why I have no expectation to Spurs any season. I just we're fifth because we're fifth highest spenders wage-wise. We are transfer-wise, we're okay. We get good players. We don't get great. So there's that thing, Jim Collins book, good to great. We don't go for great players.
Now, so let now sort of look at that in quote, that so-called low wage structure, low transfer figures, fees, numbers, right? And see whether or not, hang on, okay, why are we like that? Is it because we have the money and we don't want to spend it? Or we have it and we are risk averse? And in order to, so it's one of those three, either where we have the money or we don't want to spend it, or we don't have it at all. Or what we have to try and be as much as possible, be prudent with it, so that we ensure that we don't fall into the leads, or into any of those unsustainable clubs, if you like, who now have, like Barcelona, for instance, right, have huge debt and are even having difficulty registering players because of the debt profile now, or the kind of financial instability they put themselves. Even though they want many trophies, right? But hey, the fans don't care. All they want is that they want trophies, right? So, but now they can't sign Olmo. They can't sign other players.
Yeah, but the flip side is, which is what we've said before, is if you're a trophy fan, you're happy because you won the trophies. But look at the cost, the consequences. At the end of the day, it's kind of like, I'll give this analogy. I'm Christian. For those of you out there, I'm a Christian guy. So I look at the story of Joseph, right? So in the story of Joseph, God gives Joseph a dream about what Joseph is going to be, because Joseph listens to his father, so he's heard the word of God, and God has checked his heart, and God has found out Joseph is a good man or good boy. And he gives him this dream about how he is going to help his people. So God had a plan to help his people, but it came through this boy. Now, after giving him the dream, this boy would have probably stayed in his father's house for the rest of his life, but certain things had to come into play for him to achieve that destiny. And it ended up him being in peril for over 13 years. I think it was 13 years, till he became what he became. And through that, his brothers threw him into a pit, sold him into slavery. All through that time, he was going through that. When he was in the pit, when he was a slave, when he was in prison, nobody could have told you that guy would become the second most powerful person. But only God could see his destiny at the end. And that's how I like to look at Spurs. I like to think that long term, Spurs have set themselves up in a place where, should it or when it clicks, whatever it is, clicks on a footballing front, Spurs would be in the greatest position of any club in history. And it's taking 20-something years to get there.
To get to that point, yeah.
But if you look at history, and life, like I said, who would have told Joseph, like, dude, you're going to have like 13, 17, 20 years of your life, you're going to suffer, but you're going to become the richest man, you're going to be the most powerful man, you're going to save your own people that sold you out. So I look at Spurs in that sense. I look at Spurs as like in a Joseph story, in terms of a lot of things have been put in place. The same thing I said with Ange.
Hallelujah.
Amen. It's the same thing I said about Ange Postecoglou as well, is that if Ange isn't the guy, Ange is laying the foundations. If Enic are not the ones, Enic have laid wonderful foundations. If anybody who takes over this business, anyone who takes over Spurs are in such a good place financially that if someone else brings extra investment, hence the reason we're talking about Amanda Stavely and the Saudi group coming in, and she wants to buy 500 million, blah 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 blah, all that stuff. These things will help Spurs, but like I said, until we raise the wages, we can't attract certain kinds of players, and those players are the players, in my opinion, that win you stuff. As much as you want to grow a squad to win, and I love that model, and I would love to see it work.
It's
You need to
fantastic.
buy
Have
the
you-
experience. Spurs have also done that and been burnt. Sorry, no, I was going to say Spurs have done that, buying a good player and gotten burnt, because we had Tanguy Ndombele, we paid the most money for him, and he was on £200,000 a week wages. And look at what happened there. So it's kind of like, I understand Levy's risk averseness, being that he's a businessman, an economist, an accountant, all those things. He's risk averse. And that's the best way to be if you run a business. You have to be risk averse. But, you know, fortune favors the brave, so they say. The brave could also be hyphenated into the brave risky, you know. And
I love your ambivalence, if you like, you know, in the sense that, okay, yes, maybe a little sitting on the fence, but listen, I think Enic have done a great job. You know, anybody that doesn't give them credit, for me, is not being realistic in terms of where we are, and you kind of straight that history to say, look, where we've been before now and where we are now, it's as a result of the investment that they put into the club, or the way they've sort of run the club to ensure that we remain sustainable and competitive in the long term. I would love to hear your views wherever you're watching this from. Is it Enic out? Put your reasons, and it will be interesting to hear what you have to say. Meantime, guys, thank you very much. Come on, you Spurs.